was late spring in North Carolina, and the air was warm enough to make the dogwoods bloom early. I had just finished restoring my grandfather's old house, a quiet little home sitting on 10 acres of land at the edge of a small, picture-perfect neighborhood. The house sat just beyond the narrow creek that ran between my yard and the main road. For years, we used a rough wooden plank bridge to cross over. It had seen better days, and after one too many close calls with it creaking under my truck's weight, I decided it was time to build a proper one. It wasn't some massive construction project, just a small, sturdy concrete and steel bridge about 10 feet long. I designed it myself, got the necessary county permits, and hired a local contractor to help me pour the base. Everything was done by the book. But in this world, doing things right doesn't always protect you from people who think they have authority where they don't. Enter the Homeowners Association of the Evergreen Pines home. Now, technically speaking, my property wasn't part of the home. My grandfather's land existed long before the development was built. I had my own access road, my own mailbox, and my own taxes to pay. But that didn't stop the HOA president, a woman named Cheryl, from trying to stick her nose into my business. I had seen her before. She was the kind of person who believed every neighborhood rule applied to everyone within sight of her front porch. Always walking around with a clipboard, always acting like she ran the entire county. The trouble began about a week after the bridge was completed. I was out cleaning up some debris when a silver SUV pulled into my driveway. Out stepped Cheryl, wearing sunglasses, a visor, and that all-too-familiar look of forced politeness. "Good afternoon," she said in that overly sweet tone that immediately told me something bad was coming. "I'm here on behalf of the Evergreen Pines Homeowners Association." I wiped my hands on my jeans. "And what can I do for you?" She gave the bridge a long look. "We've had some reports of unapproved construction in the area." "That bridge, did you get it cleared with the HOA Architectural Review Committee?" I raised an eyebrow. "Ma'am, my property isn't part of your home. This is private land." She gave me a tight smile. "Well, technically, your property borders the home, and any structure visible from community roads must comply with neighborhood standards. I'm afraid we're going to have to assess a compliance fee of $350. I actually laughed. "You're charging me for building something on my own land?" "It's not a charge," she said defensively. "It's a maintenance and aesthetic compliance fee. We have to make sure everything aligns with community design." "Again," I said slowly, "I don't live in your community." She frowned, clearly not used to being challenged. "If you refuse to pay, I'll have to file a notice of violation with our board and possibly with the county." "Be my guest," I said, turning to go back inside. "You'll find out real quick how far your authority goes." That night, I decided to have a little fun. I sent an email to the HOA's public contact address, attaching a copy of my property deed, the county survey map, and a permit from the Department of Transportation authorizing the bridge construction. I also CC'd the county zoning office, just for good measure. 2 days later, I got a call from a county inspector who had a good laugh about the whole thing. "Don't worry," he said, "you're completely in the clear, but if they bother you again, let me know." Sure enough, it didn't take long. The next week, I received a printed letter in the mail from the home. It stated that unauthorized construction adjacent to HOA property violated community harmony guidelines and that I had 10 days to pay the $350 fine or face further action. That was the last straw. I walked straight to the HOA's main office, a small building near the entrance of the subdivision. When I entered, Cheryl was sitting behind the desk, surrounded by framed photos of the neighborhood and binders labeled bylaws. "Mr. Thompson," she said, feigning surprise, "we weren't expecting you." "I bet you weren't," I said. I placed a folder on her desk and opened it. Inside were the legal documents, a proof that my land was separate, plus a letter from my lawyer stating that any further harassment from the HOA would result in legal action for attempted extortion and defamation. Her face went pale. "Now, there's no need to be hostile," she said nervously. "I'm not being hostile," I replied calmly. "I'm being very clear. You tried to fine me for something you have zero jurisdiction over. You sent me letters threatening county action. That's harassment. If it happens again, you'll be dealing with my attorney instead of me." She opened her mouth to argue, But I wasn't finished. And just so we're clear, I've already spoken to the county zoning board. They found your HOA has been applying community restrictions outside illegal boundary lines. They weren't happy about it. Her jaw dropped. You a broken bar, you called the county? Oh, I did more than that, I said. They're opening an investigation into your association's practices. You might want to let your board know. I picked up my folder and walked out, leaving her speechless. The fallout was glorious. A few weeks later, I heard from one of the actual HOA residents, a nice older man named Jim who walked his dog past my property. He told me that the county had sent a notice to the HOA, warning them about overstepping their authority. They were forced to revise their bylaws and issue written apologies to all property owners they'd harassed in the past year. As for Cheryl, she resigned as president soon after. But I wasn't done making them regret it. See,